Welcome to the How to Hero YouTube channel, where it's my job to try and awaken the hero within you. There's a hero within all of us. It just depends how much you want to resist me. Now, I've been sitting watching the sunrise, and it just made me realize that I should probably share a recent experience that I had. And so I think I'm going to call this video Awakening versus Psychosis. And what can kind of happen if you let your awakening kind of spiral the way I did. Because what happens is, as you awaken and move into higher vibrations, the manifestations of your subconscious start to happen a lot faster. And so like attracts like, right? Like attracts like, and if you're light, you'll attract light. But what you'll also do is you'll bring up a lot of opportunities for challenge and learning, and opportunities for growth. And essentially what you'll do is manifest the world that you believe exists, and it pieces itself together in a piecemeal type way, and it pushes you through more and more turmoil as you go, and the whole time it really feels like you are almost being duped all over the place, like some entity is tricking you. It feels like maybe you've lost your mind, and I think maybe you kind of do, right? And I think maybe you kind of do. You lose your mind, and then you come back and put it all back together. I actually think that I read that somewhere, that somebody compared enlightenment or illumination of the soul and the sort of the clearing of the conduit is akin to breaking yourself all apart and then putting yourself back together, so that you know each part of yourself. And so if there's parts of yourself that you haven't seen yet, that you need to see, Spirit will guide you to it. And the way it manifested for me was in this sort of strange dream world that I sort of created for myself, where I was playing some kind of game, and this game was invented by me and my subconscious in order to facilitate my growth, and for me to let go of things that I couldn't let go of, because that's the only way to move forward, is to let go. Once we stop pushing to get something, whether it's material or immaterial, once we stop with the pushing, we make it known that that's what our intention is, that we have that in our lives. We start to be the vibration of that status, of that whatever it is, right? Of that world where we are that person that has that thing, or that person, or that whatever. When we do that, things shift. And if you're not careful, like I wasn't very careful. I was in what I would call sort of distress. It wasn't a distress that should cause people worry, although it did cause a lot of people to worry about me, which I did feel bad about initially, until I started to recall my own advice to people, which is to speak your truth loudly, well, quietly or loudly, whatever feels good, and essentially just let people come with you, or let them flap their gums, and it's really neither here nor there. But the problem is that when you're awakening, you start to see the oneness, right? And it's as real as looking in the mirror when you're talking to another person. And so you start to hear messages to yourself through this other person, whatever the person is. And the messages take on a form that your subconscious or your spirit is trying to guide you towards. Typically your higher self is trying to help you find the lost fragments of yourself, the pieces of yourself that you locked away so long ago, that you just haven't noticed yet. And so for me, I will go into the whole adventure. I think I actually might have to write a whole book on it, to be honest with you. It was absolute bonkers. But I'll just give the highlights. I first was I essentially became more or less enlightened. Once that happened, all of the stuff that I hadn't seen yet had to come up. And what I didn't understand at the time was that I was manifesting this like sort of game to play. And the game would force me into seeing all these different things, into looking at things at different angles. And it forced me to really look at what reality is. And then what I did was I sort of looked at reality and I was like, I don't like this one. And I started to shift it for myself. And that's where the psychosis starts to rear its head. So my theory is actually that the disorders and things that we call psychosis and schizophrenia, and I want to preface all of this by saying I'm not a doctor in any way. Maybe I'll put some text at the beginning too. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not claiming to be an expert in any of this. This is just my experience and what I kind of got from it, and what I've learned in my sort of seeking. So take it for what you will and do your own research. So anyways, I believe that the schizophrenic trait in people is not necessarily a disorder. And same with psychosis. I don't think it's necessarily a disorder. What I think it is the brain flexing its power for creation and allowing the person to create other realities. The issue is that this ability is not properly fed through source, so it can have dark presence to it, which is where the disorder part of it comes in. And so my psychosis was very positive psychosis in many ways. But because I'm running around in this world of boundaries and borders and judgment and societal expectations, I was perceived to be a lunatic, which is completely understandable because I was acting in lunacy in a bright moon. So, but the point is that it's hard to pull yourself out of that. You're creating this strange fantasy dream world, and you have to be careful because you can take it too far. I think I took it a little too far. Everything that happened was purposeful and had an absolute perfect reason for occurring. So I wouldn't wish it to take it back in any way. However, in the process, I was less than nice to a lot of people, and so I had to do a lot of forgiving of myself and forgiving and some compassion for myself, really, for doing these things. Now, when it comes to psychosis, if it's very positive, mine was very positive, but it was also very I don't know. I was walking around without a shirt on, singing opera, and so I got locked up for 72 hours in a mental health facility. Against my will, I was put on what they call a form. And then as the 72 hours ended, I was like, they're surely going to let me out. Nothing's wrong with me. But they didn't. So that's basically the story. Eventually they did let me out after like 6 or 7 days. But I had to agree to all these different meds and all this other stuff just to get some sort of recognition and sort of get out. I don't think they would have let me out if I didn't agree to the meds and things like that. The thing where I had to do that, and it was suppressing actually my pineal gland. I could feel it. I could feel it suppressing it, like almost calcifying it again. And so I'm just glad that I was able to get out and kind of do that and realize that was the thing to do. Now, I don't recommend what I did for anybody, but that was the path that I was supposed to take, so that's what I did. And I can't regret it, unfortunately, for many people, because they're going to want me to regret. They're going to want me to regret my my actions, and I can't. one of the most important lessons for me is that really, 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 truly, I don't need anything at all. And everything is right here in my heart. Everything I need. It's right there already. And so I had to kind of lose all possessions. I had to sleep in a shelter. And really, I also lost my phone. I didn't have my car or my laptop or anything. And then when I went on in the facility, I wasn't allowed to go on anything. And then I was able to get like half an hour of computer time, but I couldn't. I didn't have my phone, so I couldn't do the multi-factor authentication. So I could only go on like Instagram and YouTube, but I couldn't log in. Anyways, it's a whole story. But it forced me, and I only got half hour. I don't know if I said that. So, but it forced me to like really, 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 truly just sit with myself, and then it was just test after test in there. Like it was like it was like prison sort of, but it was not in a bad way. I just all of my rights and freedoms were more or less gone. Except I had really nice security guards, which are the nurses helping to take care of me, and the doctors trying to facilitate my care plan or treatment plan as well. And so I totally respect their work and understand what they were doing, but it just wasn't for me. And unfortunately, they wouldn't listen to me. And so when I started talking about my polyphasic sleep and how I sleep, maybe 4 to 6 times a day, but usually only for 20 minutes or something like that, they just think I'm unhealthy. They think I'm crazy. And that's why I'm singing in the street. My form actually says, it's really funny, it says that I was I was basically placed under, like in holding under the Mental Health Act, because I was acting bizarre and singing opera in the street. That's what the form says. And so I thought, surely this can't last forever. And Shirley said, no, actually it can last for about 72 hours. There was no Shirley. But that's what Shirley would have said if she was there. And so it taught me so much. And so later I'm going to record a song that means a lot to me. I actually listened to it I was probably like 13 or something when I heard this song, maybe 12. Maybe 14, I don't know, whatever. And at the time, I didn't fully grasp why I liked it so much, but now I understand it. And so I'll post that later today as well. I just wanted to say, so if you're feeling that psychosis and it's starting to feel like, oh my God, I don't know what's real, that's a very good sign. Because when I got to that point, I just went straight to the hospital. I didn't expect to get held like that, but ultimately that was the best thing for me, especially during all that energy. I don't think I would have been able to handle it properly without all that, without all that space. Anyways, I know this video is a bit rambly, a bit weird. I didn't get a good opportunity to plan it, but I just wanted to kind of share my experience with the psychosis side of awakening and how those two kind of interplay with each other. I think it's like the light side of awakening starts to imbalance into the dark. And that's kind of how I perceive it. And that's when it becomes, psychosis is really just your brain seeing a reality that other people maybe not be aware of, right? It's not necessarily detrimental to your way to function. And when you've awakened to the oneness, it looks like psychosis because you look so different to other people, and even to yourself. Like yourself, the self you had is not there anymore, really, not the way that it was, right? It's a whole new self, a whole new ball game, and it's really just the whole next level of more stairs up of ascension, and that's the really cool thing. You get there, you break through, and then you can fall back a little bit and regress and whatever, and come back, and it happens. You go back and forth, you wobble. They call that limbo, and then you'll break through that next paradigm and shift into the new reality that's meant for you. But once you do that, like, you start to realize and truly understand your divine birthright as being co-creator of this universe, and what that truly means, and how much power that truly is, and how much responsibility that really is. And sort of I lost track of what was important to me, and started this, I manifested this whole, I think I manifested this whole like kind of wild goose chase sort of thing, like a scavenger hunt or something. I don't know, to be honest, at this point, because like I said, you just start to question reality after a while. So I hope this was helpful for someone. Like I said, it was just rambling. If you like the video, click the like button. It helps out the channel. We're growing pretty well. Actually, I took a screenshot. We were at 5,555 subs earlier when I happened to look. So, and I don't look that often. So, it was really cool to see that number. That really implies, like, you know, powerful activity moving forward of the five senses. You know, using the material world, making progress in the material world, which is what I'm aiming to do now. Now that I've done too much inner work, too much for now. Like, I need to take a break from that for a little bit. I'll still do it daily. But anyways, otherwise, yeah, if you subscribe, that'd be great. There's going to be streams coming out. I had to delay them because of the hospital visit, but it's coming. There's also going to be, essentially the stream's going to work like this. We're going to have the first hour of like metaphysics discussion, starseeds, light workers, multi-dimensional beings. What does that mean? How do we, when we're talking about manifestation, what does that mean? What about the law of one, or the law of confusion, or other components to the metaphysics and the reality in which we live, different models of the planet Earth, that type of thing. We can talk about that for an hour, and then I'll do, I think, readings for an hour, and I'll figure out exactly how I want to do the pricings. I'm not super interested in money, but at the same time, I have this thing here. One sec. Oh. This thing here, the fairies were charging it for me. And the citrine disagrees. Abundance is here for me. And one of the methods is through the YouTube channel. Just one of the methods. And I know this is the right thing that I need to do next. So anyways, I'll figure out the pricing, and I'll try to make it cheap. The problem is too, though, when I'm using energy or working with spirit to deliver messages and I don't properly compensate myself for my efforts, they almost start to disconnect from it, pull back. And so I have to be careful about it, because they don't value money that much, but they value my effort a lot, if that makes sense. And like I do as well. But at the same time, I have bills to pay still. So, I don't know. I have to think about the pricing. I may just leave it, and like any donation, I do a random number generator, or I got an idea. I'll just ask the pendulum, which reading, or do something like that anyway. I'll do something, and then they'll just get whichever reading comes up for whatever they donated. I might have to make a minimum though, because I don't want 1,000 $1 donations that I'm supposed to do 1,000 readings or something crazy. We'll have to see how it works. Yeah, we'll have to see, and then modify as we go. But you know, all those entrepreneur books and startup books and all that stuff, they always say, you know, get the minimum viable product ready, and then go. And so the minimum viable product is me just jumping on stream, and then we'll see where the cookie crumbles. And I hope people make it. I'll have a more set schedule eventually. For now, it's just a matter of doing it. So I'll be online soon. Sorry, I'm tired. I just woke up. Sometimes I'm groggy. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and take care.